last video of my European travels, I'd boarded a train from Glasgow, Scotland, and was heading south.
Well, I made it to Birmingham, which is, I guess, central England, more or less. It's north of London, at least. Interesting place. It's a little cool, but it's not raining, so that's good. And you can see the Ferris wheel in the background. One of the reasons I'm here is there are a few of my YouTube friends actually lived in the area, and so it gives me a chance to chat and see how things are with them, and you know, maybe go for a pint or two.
Birmingham is England's second largest city and is well known as a manufacturer's hub at the center of Great Britain. Well blessed with plenty of green space, it also is famous for its locks, not just the ones on Lover's Bridge, but that other kind that connected the canals and moved supplies and goods since the Industrial Revolution. Now those waterways are still in use, and there's more canals in Birmingham than in Venice. Now throughout those prosperous years, those laborers needed somewhere to spend their cash, and Broad Street became a hotspot for food, bars, and entertainment. So it's no surprise that many musicians came from Birmingham, like Jeff Lynne of ELO, the band UB40, and some other rock band whose name escapes me. And it was by a famous bridge that I was now headed to meet a fellow music lover and his buddies.
Hi, Mark. Nice to meet you.
Oh, hi. This is my friend called Steve.
Hey,
right.
how are you doing? Well, we made it. Right on.
With Mark, Paul, and Steve leading the way, we only had one destination. This was my first British pub, and what a beautiful sight it was. All decked out in wood and brass, with all those tap handles reminding me of a big brass pipe organ full of beer. With each pipe a different note, the key I chose was in the tune of Guinness.
Cheers, Slim.
Cheers.
Have a safe.
Cheers, there we go.
Cheers. Here's to a safe journey back to Canada.
Yeah, and just a safe journey back to London, I think it's not for
via
that.
London.
A safe journey back to my hotel is a way to start. I'm a little worried about Canada later. At least when I got to Birmingham, I get to see you guys.
Yep.
Which is good. I appreciate it. You know, taking your time and showing me around.
Well, it's an honour to meet you for a start off, because as I say, you did help with the camper, and if it wasn't for you, none of the camper for the things that I did would ever have happened anyway. So it's all good.
Well, hey, you know, if it wasn't for people who watch my videos, I wouldn't be inspired to come to the UK either.
Yeah.
But I have a very small, I think it was about 6% or something, UK.
Okay.
Canada's only 13%, so it's not that big in Canada. So it's like only 50% less for UK is pretty good.
Yeah.
Australia, but I'm not ready to fork over the dollars for Australia yet. Let's start with the UK because it's just across the pond, right?
That's okay. Yeah. I mean, I think the best thing you've done is come to Birmingham, because it would be. When I told everybody that you were coming, and they said, well, I believe that when we see it.
Yeah.
So when you first hinted to me that you were coming, it was a few months back, way back, and he said, I might do this.
Yeah, I was thinking of it, yeah.
And then I was around his, and I said, well, you know what, this could happen. And he said, yeah, I know. And then when it didn't happen, you thought, well, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And then typical Canadian planning.
You know what, I wouldn't even say it was...
email.
I wouldn't even say it's Canadian, it's just my planning, which is none. I just try to do things in the spur of the moment, and it's just, it's almost impossible.
here's the plan, I don't have one.
Yeah. And to do Europe without a plan, it's just really, really tough. I mean, travel is so more difficult now than when I started, like 40, 45 years ago.
Oh, it's harder to travel now with the traffic as well.
There's more traffic.
Intense. So intense.
It's harder to get accommodation.
Yeah.
Everything's more money. But I think it's because the world has gone electronic, social media. You can't, most people book everything over their phones.
Yeah. Oh, and everything's got to be booked as well.
Yeah.
That's it.
And using GPS and communication, everything is by the phone.
Yeah.
Which is good and it's bad. It's instant, but if you lose your phone, you're...
You see, it's made it so convenient that everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
So it's not an effort to, you back in the day, you got to book in, people wouldn't really bother. But now it's so simple to do. It's so easy to do. Just everybody just picks it up and I'm on the way.
Well, it's kind of simple.
Yeah.
Whereas with me, I have a phone.
Yeah.
And I can do anything with this phone except make a phone call.
Yeah, that's right. But you can see
And I cannot make a phone call with this ever since I got to Europe. It has not worked as I put a French SIM card in it, and I can't make a phone call. So, hey, go figure.
No, you can't text.
Can't text, no. So, but I can talk. The phone has not taken away my privilege to have a one-to-one conversation to people, and that's kind of what this was about.
Yeah.
I've had people, virtually all over the world that have watched my video one time or another, and I like to reach out every once in a while to them and actually shake their hand and have a beer with them.
Yeah. That's the correct way to do it.
Yeah.
I think so.
But anyway, Slim, it's been a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah. Same, eh?
It's been great.
Right on.
I never thought it would happen. In fact, when you were here, I didn't think it was going to happen.
Well, the next time you're in Canada and you want a pint in New Brunswick,
we'll definitely be there. Anyway, cheers, Slim.
cheers.
Cheers.
Well, that pint cleared my head, and I suddenly remembered something about that canal bridge that I'd mentioned earlier. Because on top of it sits a park bench, the perfect place to sober up after a night of partying. And there's even some drug-crazed hippies to keep you company. How cool is that?
Birmingham is home to something else, which was very dear to my childhood. When I was like 12 or 13, I was really into music. And one of my favorite bands had this guy for a singer. That's Ozzy! Black Sabbath! I had their first album, I had Masters Reality, I had Paranoid, I had Volume 4. I loved that, I grew up with that music, along with Alice Cooper and the Rolling Stones and all that, but I never thought I'd be where it all started out, which is Birmingham. They've got this bench here, there's the Black Sabbath bridge, and we've got Ozzy, we've got Tony, we've got Terry Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward's in the back. Bill's not looking too good. He's by himself there, but hey, I finally made it. My pilgrimage to Black Sabbath is now complete.
So beer and Black Sabbath with friends was a great way to start my day. But as the clock struck noon, I headed down the canal for another rendezvous.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not in Birmingham for long. And later on today, I'm going to grab a train, head for London. But before I go, there's one more person I really wanted to meet because he's got a unique way of traveling, camping, so to speak, and just getting around to see the sights that is very unique to this location. Hopefully, I can meet him and we can grab a pint.
And on the way, I passed 4 Canada geese who were obviously here on vacation. As I watched a narrowboat maneuver a tight turn, I noticed a familiar face on the other side of the canal.
Mr. Potato Head?
I recognize this guy.
You're saying,
How you
I'm
doing?
here to meet Slim Potato Head. I'm doing very
Hello.
well. Just I'm viewer of the vlog.
Oh, right on. Me too.
Just trying to get a quick selfie. Yeah. So there we go. Got a bit of Canal. Well. How are you?
I'm great.
And welcome to Birmingham.
Well, thank you.
As is tradition here, we went off to chat in another local pub.
Look who I've got here.
Hello.
It's David from Cruising the Cut, one of my favorite of all time vloggers, and I get to meet him in person.
Well, likewise, Slim, one of my favourite video makers. I don't even call you a vlogger. You are a craftsman of the art, a storyteller supreme.
Well, I do try to tell a story, as do you.
Generally try to, yes. And what are the chances? Here you are, in Birmingham, England.
Hey, you know what? I needed a break. So, I've been to the U.S. many times. I think it was time to go somewhere different. My grandmother, I think, was from the Kent area.
Right.
And the other side, I think, was Enfield, somewhere around there.
Right.
Southern part of England.
Yep.
Now, you call it England, you call it Great Britain. Which is a preference?
Right. England is England, Wales is Wales, and Scotland is Scotland.
Yeah.
Those three together are Great Britain.
Okay.
If you then add in Northern Ireland, you have the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are you?
Personally, half English, half Welsh.
Okay, I call myself a Canadian.
British.
British.
Yeah.
British one.
You can't really say UK-ish. It doesn't work.
It doesn't
British.
work.
British.
If you notice in the background, I know this is not a good angle, but we're by Canal. And David literally camps and travels on the canal. It's totally an awesome concept. Can't do anything like that in Canada.
No, you've got a small amount of canals, haven't you, somewhere? I don't know a lot about
Well,
Canadian
I guess
system.
around Niagara Falls
Yeah,
and stuff like that. You don't want to go down the falls.
Ideally not, no. But there's, for anyone who doesn't know, there's about 2,000 miles of inland waterway canals in England and Wales. All connected. It's a big network. You can go all the way from London up north and east and west and just travel about in these very long, thin boats that are not called long boats. They are narrow boats because they are long and narrow.
And look at this. No gridlock. If you're tired of gridlock, and I think there's a little bit of gridlock in Birmingham, is there not?
There can be on the roads, yes. There can be on the canals.
Well, there can be.
In summertime, yeah. But otherwise it's a peaceful way.
But they have another, instead of gridlock, they have locks. And you do get stuck on that. Maybe that's where the word gridlock comes from, because when you have to go down a lock or up a lock, this can take all day.
Well, it's doing it single-handed, it's about 15 minutes per lock. But if you've got a whole flight of locks, it can take you all day, yeah.
As the sign says, it takes 38 locks to get to Faisley.
And just near here, there's one with how many steps to go down?
There's one with 13 locks in quick succession, followed by another 12 locks in quick succession. And I did do that once on my own in a day, and it did take all day.
So, be prepared. It might be better than going on the road, but, there's a little give and take. There's some disadvantages as well. But the thing is, you probably don't use a lot of fuel.
No, very parsimonious on the fuel, just chugging along at 3 miles an hour, enjoying the canals, enjoying the peace. It's all about slowing down.
And I don't think there's a lot of noise either.
No, noise of the diesel engine, which some are quieter than others, but generally you get bird song, nature, people talking to you from the towpath. It's a pleasant way of life.
And what got you into this in the first place?
Just a whim, really. I just decided to quit my job and sell my house and buy a boat and live on it. So I did.
That's the way to do it.
Yep.
I'm a whim guy myself. It's a whim for me to be here in the first place. I didn't plan anything. I just sort of went. I did want to go with my daughter. I needed some time off with her because I hadn't seen her for a while. So I went to France. I went to Italy. Now I'm in the UK, and I'm loving it.
So if you're looking for a unique lifestyle, try narrowboating in Birmingham. Now, David's a wealth of info on the subject, and I could talk to him forever, but those beers were taking effect, and suddenly all I heard was,
Blah, 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 blah.
Anything else to say?
Nope.
How about goodbye?
Welcome to the UK and goodbye.
Exactly. Check out David, Cruising the Cut, and you're really going to love it. I know a lot of people in the U.S. is probably not as familiar, but totally recommend it. He could talk about anything, and it's still interesting.
You're very, very
And he's a good photographer, too.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not going to be in Birmingham much longer. I actually go on a train tonight to London.
which leads me to that British icon called the Underground. And as my feet finally touch a London street, the first thing I see is Big Ben. As I glanced across the Thames, my stomach started to growl. But finding good places to eat was a little confusing to me. Some names didn't seem that appetizing, and I didn't find a lot of vegetarian choices. Plus, where I come from, spotted dick means go see a doctor. I usually love Indian food, but this name made me a little queasy, so I settled for noodles.
Lunchtime, downtown London. Ned's Noodles, which is rice noodles, sweet and sour sauce, and tofu. About 10 pounds. What do we get? That's it. Looks like a meal. I have a feeling I'm going to lose some of it, but there we go. Noodle time. Seriously, nothing special. I'm just hungry.
London is one of the most diverse cities in the world, where Charles Dickens meets the devil, and traditions complement the modern. But it was George Gershwin that inspired my first visit to a landmark, as I wanted to see if the lyrics to A Foggy Day were actually true. Well, two things were instantly charming as soon as I walked through the front doors. No reservation was required, and it was free. It had all the stuff a museum should have, and the architecture was quite interesting. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a very impressive museum. However, perhaps because I just visited the Louvre in France and the Kelvin Grove in Scotland, I was feeling a little bit of museum fatigue by the time I arrived here. But it does have some very impressive artifacts, like the Rosetta Stone. It's famous for being the key piece of the puzzle in deciphering ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, as it was written in 2 languages and 3 scripts. Unfortunately, there's no infinite wisdom written here, just a promo piece for King Ptolemy V from 196 BC.
Well, after the British Museum had lost its charm, you go for ice cream and waffles.
Now, don't be too discouraged by my diet, as it did get a little healthier later on. After a little history, I craved a little nature, so headed to the famous parks of London. In Hyde Park, this low-hanging tree caught my eye, and curiosity got the best of me.
Now this is cool. I'm inside a tree. Underneath its branches. I don't know what kind of tree it is, but It's got its own little room underneath here. It's so, the branches are just so tight. The little pigeon likes it too. So cool.
St. James Park has a lake that's known for its waterfowl. And between St. James Park and Hyde Park is another famous landmark, Buckingham Palace. Big Ben showed me the afternoon was almost over, so back to the underground I went.
Well, I couldn't go to UK without seeing Stonehenge. Today is the day.
Trains are the prime way to travel in England, and most destinations here are connected by rail. But the last part of this trip was by bus.
Thank you.
Home to the crows, and still visited by modern-day Druids, this is where an ancient Neolithic temple has stood for 4,500 years. Welcome to the place now known as Stonehenge.
Now, one thing that I found surprising is it's pretty casual here at Stonehenge, the way it should be, but I was expecting a lot of security and massive fences and like all these signs, don't go here, but I mean, there are fences, these little ropes around, and as far as access, no, you can't go in amongst the rocks, but you can walk around them fine. Walking them around as many times as you want. And there's these areas, these grassy areas you can sit out in, and it's kind of neat. And, you're supposed to be relaxed. You're supposed to, take this, for whatever spiritual meaning or historical meaning that you may. This is far more casual, and it's a lot easier to appreciate.
As the sun dipped lower, thousands of spider webs glistened in the grass, as each time of day reveals a different Stonehenge.
It's probably a little harder at sunset because a lot of the buses go back at like 4:30, but you can get around that as well. And those are the people I really want to talk to.
Just beyond the gate at the fringes of a field, the viewpoint is a little different. This is where today's gypsies reside. No longer in wagons, but in vans, or caravans as they call them here. Britain has a large wild camping community, and being blessed with a more moderate climate than North America, the travel season is a lot longer. I see many advantages to renting a van to explore Britain. In the distance are small mounds called barrows. These are ancient burial grounds from the Bronze Age. With dusk approaching, this is the most magical time to view the rocks, as it's believed they were all intentionally placed to align with the rising and setting sun. On the last few minutes of daylight, the stones glow in ghostly colors, and the crows stake out their thrones as the tourists depart. For those lucky enough to spend a night here, it must be a transcendental experience.
But unfortunately, I also have to rely on transportation. And the last bus leaves in a few minutes, so I bid adieu to Stonehenge. Gotta go.
An orange full moon replaced the setting sun and glowed all night as I slept. By morning it had faded, as a new journey was about to begin.
I'm on my way to Dover.
Dover is a port town in Kent on the southeast corner of England. It's known for its chalk-white cliffs, its ferry terminal to France, and the Dover Castle. As I'd never visited a castle, this was my first destination, but not without a classic British breakfast, a vegetarian one at that, from Café Melange. And it was awesome. Dover Castle is one of the largest in England, initially built in the 11th century by William the Conqueror. But it was King Henry II that built the stone fortress you see today in the 12th century. Now there is at least one structure that's much older. This Roman lighthouse built when the Romans invaded in AD 43. This makes it one of the oldest buildings still standing in England today. Wandering these halls, you feel the sense of confinement in these massive walls. And the eerie sounds that echo in the corridors are not howls from the dungeon, only those whiny little kids of tourists. It certainly had that medieval charm, although I wish the gate fee included a jeweled goblet of wine. I took one last look over the battlements and spotted a coastline that beckoned to be explored. Fortunately, there was even a footpath. As the sun was getting low, it was time to put this walk into high gear. After about half an hour, I finally reached the place I was looking for.
Well, it was about an 8-mile walk, but I made it to the outlook for the White Cliffs of Dover. Right there is the English Channel, and way over there is France.
I watched one last ferry dock before nightfall.
Time to go back up north.
But on my way back, I found something I wasn't expecting to see. A pickup truck, and with a camper on the bed. This was a nice setup, and it confirms that even on the White Cliffs of Dover, they appreciate wheeled travelers. Another day over, another train to London, and one final destination I needed to reach. New Barnet is a borough northeast of London, and I had a personal quest that I had to fulfill from here. This old photo from 1895 shows my late grandmother Violet seen in white out on a horse and buggy ride in Epping Forest. Her father, who was beside her on the reins, also had a hardware shop in New Barnet. I was curious to see if the original building was still standing.
Well, according to the phone, I'm real close. "61. I'm here."
I believe the original address took up 2 spaces, and it was the one on the right that had the identical pillars on each side. This was definitely the right building, but instead of a hardware store, it now sold used clothing, so I went inside to check it out. When I told the lady at the counter, she was thrilled to find out its history and passed on my picture to the local historical society. Time for a special photo. Here's my great-grandfather Rutland in 1922 and his great-grandson in 2024, 102 years later.
Well, it's great because it's now a hospice and it sells used goods for really cheap prices to people who just can't afford new. Is there anything I got?
Well, I had my eyes on something red.
A record. West Side Story. Not exactly British, but hey, it's only £1.
My quest now fulfilled, it was back to the trains one more time. I did make a stop at Cambridge Circus, and Charing Cross. This gave me a chance to marvel at Zach Lieberman's 4-minute work entitled Color Stripe Study at the Outernet. Now remember the bad luck I had at restaurants? I finally got it right by ordering Banjan Biryani at the Bagcha restaurant, home of authentic Persian cuisine.
I guess eggplant and yogurt with rice, vegetable, naan, and a fruit juice. What a meal! Melts in your mouth. Really good.
On my very last morning, it finally rained. I had traveled through France, Italy, Scotland, and England without even an umbrella, except this last day.
278.
Well, this is my last double-decker bus ride as I head for Heathrow Airport. I really loved this tour of Europe, but I really miss my cabin as well. It's time to go home. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my others as well.
Perhaps the sky was crying as I bid Europe goodbye. It was certainly a wonderful journey, a part of the world I would love to return to. A special thanks to Mark, Paul, Steve, and David, and a sincere thank you to all my viewers who came along for the ride. Safe travels, everyone.